Now we've already got this bottom cake doweled, so don't forget to put your dowels in. All right, let's put this on our turntable. I need to get this centered. It's not centered. Let's move it over a little bit. Okay, so we've got our swirls on. I've just got a number 8 tip. I'm just going to pipe a bead border around this. Just very simple bead border. It's going to get covered up by these succulents anyway. Succulents are kind of a really thick, they're like a cactus. Cactus is a succulent. And they always have like little spines on them. They don't necessarily have, you know, prickers like a cactus, but they've always got a little pointy part to it, it seems. Some of them are really full of pointy parts and some aren't. But they're very thick. And so you don't want, well, you can do a really nice smooth cake, but I just think a more rustic cake goes, they're not delicate. They're not a delicate thing. So that's why I did a rustic cake with them. Okay, so this is just a basic cake. Let's go ahead and get those succulents going. So the first thing we need to do is get our gum paste out. We're going to do the simple succulent first. Let me get this out of the way. What I did was dye my gum paste with juniper green, or you can use AmeriColor avocado green. Both of them are kind of a sagey kind of green. Works really well. They come in all different colors and every kind of shade of green you can think of. I'm going to be using probably, you know, you saw I had like 3 or 4 different shades of green. The nice thing about this, again, it's a very thick flower, very heavy flower. So you want to make them in advance. They take at least 2 days to dry out of gum paste because they're so thick and there's so many layers. So you've got to make sure you have plenty of time, but they will keep a long time too. Just stick them in a box somewhere where they won't get dusty or faded, and they'll keep for a long, long time, you know, months. Also, you can probably add some Tylose to some fondant to make a modified fondant. Because it's so thick, you can actually make it out of fondant too. The only thing you have to be careful of is they also are very heavy, so it could possibly break. So let's go ahead and roll this out. This is just some gum paste with a little bit of that juniper green in it. Just put a dot in and kneaded it up. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is get a little shortening on my pin and on my board so it doesn't stick. I'm going to take a little tiny piece. I'm going to make the center. Almost all of them have the same center. So just depending on how big you're making the flower would depend on how big you make the center. Just grab a small, it's kind of a larger pea size, roll it into a ball. Okay, and then into a cone, just a slight cone. And then what you're going to do is you're actually going to cut from the thicker end, the rounded end, not the pointy cone part. You just want to cut right down the center, like so. When you do that, notice how it points it a little bit. And then I'm going to take my ball tool and I'm just going to, you could actually use your finger too, and just kind of hollow that center a little bit. But see how it kind of has a little point to it. The scissors do that automatically, so you've already got your little prickly point that all these things have. Okay? That's all there is to it. You can cut this extra part off if you need to, so that it'll sit flat. You don't have to, but that's all there is to that center. Now we want to build on that. And we're going to use our cutters here. We start from the small ones and make them bigger. And depending on what shape or size we're doing will depend on which ones we use. I can use fat ones or skinny ones. I can use the pointed side or the thick side. Seriously, sky's the limit. So they mostly go in, every shape and form. From what I've noticed from most of mine, once you have this, then you'll have 2 more that come. So there's 2 petals here in the center, and then there's 2 more, and then 2 more, and then they get multiple petals. Make sure you keep this thick. Not too thick, but you're not going to roll it like a gum paste flower where you would normally see through it. It's going to be about 1/8 of an inch thick, believe it or not.